The first letter came on a Tuesday. Derek Broaddus found it wedged between the grocery flyers in the mailbox of his new home, 657 Boulevard. He stood on the porch, admiring the wide lawn and white columns, when he noticed the heavy paper envelope. No return address. The handwriting was strange, old-fashioned loops done with careful pressure. Inside, the first line made his stomach twist. Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. The letter went on about the house's age, its young blood, and the promise that the house has waited for your family for many years. Then came the last line before the signature that wasn't a name at all. I am the watcher. I watch and wait for the second coming of young blood. Derek stared at it until the words blurred. A faint knock echoed inside the walls behind him. He turned, heart racing, but the house was empty. That night, the Broaddus family stayed at their old place across town. Derek didn't tell Maria, his wife, about the knock. Just junk mail, he said, sliding the letter into his jacket. But when he read it again under the kitchen light, he saw details he hadn't noticed before. The writer knew they had 3 children. Knew their nicknames. Knew which bedroom faced the street. Do you play in the sunroom? I can see you there. The words crawled under his skin. He folded the letter tight and locked it in his briefcase. 2 days later, another letter arrived. The handwriting was the same, neat and strange. This time, the message began, have you filled the house with the sound of laughter yet? Or are you too busy bringing me gifts of contractors and paint cans? It ended with a warning, stop changing the house. It cries when it is touched. Derek called the police. The officer who came read the letter twice, frowned and said, could be a prank. Derek asked, what kind of prank knows my kids' names? The officer didn't answer. That evening Maria drove by the new house with the kids. From the street it looked peaceful, curtains drawn, porch light glowing. Soon, she told them. Once the workers finish, we'll move in. The youngest, Ellie, said, does someone already live there? Of course not, Maria laughed. But when she glanced at the upstairs window, she thought she saw movement, a shadow sliding away. She told herself it was just reflection from the car's headlights. Renovations slowed. Workers complained of strange things. Tools missing, windows found open, lights switched on after hours. One electrician refused to return after hearing footsteps on the second floor when everyone else was outside. Old houses creak, Derek told him, but even he heard it that night when he stayed late. 3 heavy steps above him, then a faint scraping in the walls as if nails dragged through plaster. He called, who's there? Only the hum of the air vent answered. The third letter came a week later. Where have you gone? The house grows restless. You must move in soon so it may know your voices. It mentioned their car color, what time Maria came to check the mail, and the pattern on Derek's tie from that morning. Maria read it and her hands shook. We're calling the police again. This time, detectives dusted the envelope for prints. Nothing. The postmark was local. They advised installing cameras. Derek agreed, but when the first night's footage played back, the motion sensor caught only the mailbox lid opening on its own, then closing again. Neighbors began to whisper. Maybe it's a jealous local, one said. Or teenagers pulling tricks. The Langfords next door had lived there for decades. Their son Michael was eccentric but harmless, everyone said. Derek wasn't so sure. One evening he saw Michael standing at his fence line, staring at the house. When Derek waved, Michael smiled without waving back and went inside. That night, another letter arrived. I see you spoke to the neighbors. The house told me it doesn't like gossip. Fear crept into their normal life. Maria started sleeping with her phone beside the bed. Derek kept a baseball bat in the car. The kids stopped asking when they could move in. At the new house, the wind whistled through the chimneys, sounding like a low voice whispering. The cameras caught nothing. But sometimes, at 2 a.m., the system pinged with movement inside the house even when no one was there. The police found no footprints, no signs of forced entry. Only smudges on the inside of the walls near the baseboards, as though someone had pressed their hands there. Weeks passed. The family debated selling the house before they even moved in. But buyers sensed the fear in Derek's voice. We're just busy, he'd say. Haven't had time to settle. Late one night he returned to check the locks again. The air inside felt thick. In the hallway something new waited, a small wrapped box on the floor. He picked it up. No label. Inside was an old brass key and a folded note, for the basement door. The children will love what's below. Derek froze. He didn't know of any basement door that needed a key. He searched until he found it, behind the laundry wall, a narrow door he'd never noticed, paint blended into the paneling. The key slid in smoothly. For a moment he almost stopped, almost called Maria or the police. But curiosity won. The lock clicked, the door creaked open, and stale air rolled out, thick and cold. A single light bulb hung at the top of the stairs, swaying as if someone had just touched it. Below, darkness waited. He stepped down one stair, then another. The wood groaned under his weight. Halfway down, a hollow thump echoed from inside the wall beside him. Then a second thump, closer. Derek turned toward the sound. The light bulb flickered once, twice, and went out, leaving only the whisper of a breath in the dark. The basement swallowed Derek's flashlight beam. Dust hung thick in the air, dancing in the pale cone of light. The steps creaked under his shoes. He called out, "Hello?" but his voice died halfway down. The air was colder than outside. He reached the bottom and found a narrow hallway lined with old stone. Cobwebs fluttered. Something dripped somewhere deeper in the dark. When he turned to climb back up, the door at the top thudded shut. The sound echoed like a gunshot. He sprinted up and yanked the knob. It wouldn't move. Then came 3 knocks from inside the wall beside him, slow and deliberate. He backed away, flashlight trembling in his hand. Upstairs, Maria heard nothing. She was at their old house, reading in bed, when her phone buzzed with a motion alert. The cameras at 657 Boulevard had triggered again. She opened the feed, just static, gray and hissing, but through the noise a voice seemed to whisper, "Down here." She shut her laptop. "It's late," she told herself. "He's fine." But the whisper stuck in her ears long after she turned off the light. Derek's flashlight flickered out. He fumbled for his phone, but there was no signal. Only the sound of breathing, not his own, moved in the dark. He swung the light again, catching faint shapes, pipes, boxes, and a section of wall that didn't match the others. It was newer, smoother, and slightly damp. He touched it. The surface was cool and hollow. A smell like wet metal filled the air. He pressed harder, and heard something shift behind the plaster like a hand brushing from the other side. He stumbled back, knocking over a bucket that clattered across the floor. He bolted up the stairs, ramming his shoulder into the door until it burst open. The house above was silent. Every light had gone out except one, the small lamp in the living room. On the table lay another envelope. He approached slowly, his breath catching. Inside, the letter said, "The house likes you better when you listen. Why did you run from the basement? We were almost ready to meet." The last line chilled him. "I know what you fear now." He tore it in half, but the paper felt almost damp, as if someone had held it only seconds before. The next morning Maria found him asleep in the car outside the house, coat over his shoulders. His face looked gray. He told her everything, the hidden door, the knocks, the letter. She wanted to call the police again, but he stopped her. "They'll think I've lost it," he said. "We just need to sell." Yet by evening another letter arrived, slipped beneath the windshield wiper. "Don't leave. 657 Boulevard has waited too long for you to run." That night they packed what they could and moved into a relative's home across town. Weeks passed. The house sat empty, snow gathering on its porch. But the letters didn't stop. They came to their new address with no return mark. "Do you think distance keeps me away?" one read. "The house is patient. I am patient." Maria dreamed of footsteps in the attic, of whispers behind thin walls. Derek stopped answering calls from potential buyers. Each night he stared at the ceiling, waiting for the knocks that seemed to come from inside his own head. The police investigated every neighbor again. They questioned the mail carrier, searched local handwriting samples, even checked the real estate office. Nothing. The watcher seemed to know every step ahead of them. One detective told Derek quietly, "Some folks think you wrote the letters yourselves, to get out of the deal." Derek slammed his fist on the table. "You think I'd do this to my kids?" The detective didn't answer. The case went cold. Months later, a new family showed interest in buying 657 Boulevard. Derek and Maria said nothing about the letters, only that they'd decided to relocate. The night before the sale closed, another envelope arrived. This one was addressed not to Derek but to the future family. The letter inside read, "Welcome to 657 Boulevard. I have been waiting for you. Have you found the secret room yet?" Derek tore it up, heart pounding, and burned it in the sink. The flames flared green before turning to ash. The sale fell through when the buyers learned the story from the news. Journalists camped outside the fence, taking photos of the empty house. One article called it the Watcher House. Strangers came at night to take selfies on the porch. Derek watched from his car one evening as 2 teenagers knocked on the door for fun. From the dark hallway inside something knocked back, 3 times. The kids ran screaming into the street. Derek drove away shaking, afraid of what might have answered. Years later, after the house finally sold, Derek drove by one last time. The new owners had painted the shutters red and trimmed the lawn, but the windows still seemed to stare back. As he slowed the car, a figure appeared in the upstairs window, a silhouette, unmoving. He blinked and it was gone. When he looked again, he saw the mailbox flag lifting on its own. He parked, walked over, and opened it. Inside was a single white envelope. The handwriting was the same. "I am still watching." He let it fall back into the box and walked away without looking over his shoulder. Behind him, inside the walls of 657 Boulevard, something knocked, softly, rhythmically, as if applauding the end of its story. Some houses never forget who walked their halls. 657 Boulevard still stands, its windows glowing softly at night, waiting for new voices to echo through its rooms. Maybe the watcher was only a person with a sick need for control, or maybe the house itself whispered the words that filled those letters. Either way, the story reminds us that some doors should never be opened, and some knocks should never be answered. If you enjoyed this true horror tale, subscribe for more stories where the line between the living and the watching grows disturbingly thin.